Look, today we had some earnings. We had some important earnings. But the most important thing, they tried, they failed, they couldn't do it. I'm going to tell you why we still see upside. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Let's get to it. Now, before we start jumping into conclusions, before we start going down the rabbit hole, right? Before we start jumping and saying, guys, look, we got to turn around. We're bearish, right? Let's look at the facts. Now, the things we were wondering about today. Would earnings be able to kill us? This is the only thing we were really worried about all week. But yesterday proved to be so bullish for the market that I believe today just didn't even matter. We had a miss on Apple, Amazon, Google, QCOM. I mean, realistically, it couldn't have went worse almost from these earnings. But once again, Apple comes back to save us for the day. They say, guess what? Next quarter, boys, don't worry. Right, we said this quarter our demand would have been awesome, but it didn't turn out to be that great. However, we got you next quarter. So what happens? Apple, boom, 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 right back up. Exactly what we needed. You know, you can sing that one song. It can be our hero baby, right? That's where we're at right now. So when we look at the market, let's talk about it, right? Let's not just talk about Apple earnings. Let's talk about the overall market on the Nasdaq here, okay? That's what I want to do real quick. When we look here at the Nasdaq, what do you see? This is from the bottom. This is the channel we've been tracking. What do we see here as we look at this? Okay, maybe you're in denial, possibly. Most of the bears are right now, right? We were bearish, right? But then you bounced and made a higher high, and then you continued and made this beautiful, beautiful channel here, right? Maybe one of the most beautiful things since the Immaculate Conception, dare I say, right? God bless, love Jesus, don't attack me, right? So we're getting this beautiful price action on the market. Beautiful. Couldn't get better. And now we have to ask ourselves, what turns us bearish? What turns us for downside thesis? In my opinion, it has to come back to this 12.5 level. Let me explain to you why. This is the Nasdaq. And right now, the focus has got to be the Nasdaq. Why does the focus need to be the Nasdaq? I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because the Nasdaq has been the most influential part of this market. Simple as that. That's what you need to know. When we look at the Nasdaq, it's pointed to almost every direction here. And it's been the one consistency. When the tech leads the market, we have good continuation. We have strength. When we go back to 2020 to 2021 with their big rebound, tech led the market. When we go back to the big bounces on the market in March, big bounce, tech led the rally. When we go back to June through August, tech led the rally, right? So this is why when we had that move from October through December, we didn't like it because tech was in fact not leading the rally. It was Dow and yes. But now tech says, no. You can't hold us back. And so when we look at this, just stay with me. So we get out of this breakout. We're clearly breaking the downtrend, mounting it. Beautiful, beautiful behavior. Now, when we look at this level, where's 12.5 come from? It's our swing high we had in 2020. Comes back. It becomes an SR level, support and resistance. Boom, bounce. We can see we held below it here. We consolidated, made a giant supply zone right there, which we've invalidated now, and we're pushing up. So this would be a weekly level supply, just so you know. This a massive level, right, where we would trend. And spoiler alert, we trended there for basically 7 months, just to show you the strength of that level. So just so you can realize where that is, right? And then we go like the 4 hour, you can see a little bit more precise of that point. So when we go back into something like the 4 hour, you get perspective on where we're at. Right? This is that level. Let's actually get rid of this one so nothing confuses us. And you can see we are above that level still. So for me, unless we break back below 12.5, I am a bull. I still see upside. Because I know that's your question right now. Like, Tyler, where are we going? Where are we going? What's the play? You gave us Target. You gave us Amazon. You gave us AMD. You gave us, there's so many. Boeing. I'm losing track of them right now, right? So we need to stay on track. We need to focus and hone in on what's going to continue to bring us those profits. And so when we look here, what's happening in the after hours? Okay, so we're gonna go to SPY real quick. A lot of people have been requesting I talk about SPY, so let's dive in. I validated the last previous level. Let's get rid of all of that. What we're gonna do really quick, I'm gonna bring up the daily level just so you can see where that 200 SMA is. Once again, I want to point out we've mounted 200 SMA on the Nasdaq, on SPY, on ES, everything, right? So momentum has got to be shifted from the downside to the upside, right? Until we start making some lower lows, we're just making higher highs and mounting previous highs. Again, it's like stairs, just over and over. And there's no selling pressure. Even in this after hours, right? Let's turn this on Trend Spider so we can see. And this is going to be a mark out of the after hours and the shaded area. So just bear with me. So we're going to go quick to like I want to go like to the 15 minutes. We can get a better, or 5 minutes. We can get a better view. So off rip, we get those earnings on SPY with Amazon, Google, Apple, boom, shot down. But something happens here because people were still viewing like, okay, we got to start shifting, but we need to realize where do we have to get below to be bearish on SPY? When we just take a quick zoom out, it's really easy to identify this really quick. We're just going to go to the 4 hour and we're going to come back in here. But when we look at this time frame, you got to get back below 410, right? That was the level everyone and their mom was talking about. But it seems like we kind of forget what we talk about. And we're like, oh, now we're bearish, guys. Now, and we had some earnings that are bearish, right? But the market didn't even react that bad if you really look at it. With QCOM and Apple all missing, Amazon, Google, we're still up. I mean, really think about it. SPY sitting at 415 with 3 of the biggest stocks missing. Why? I'm telling you right now, this is where the bearish thesis has to come into play. Do I believe there's a case for downside? 100% I do. I don't think inflation is handled. I don't believe the ship has sailed. I don't believe the soft landing is in. I still believe something is in the work for the downside. However, we need to identify, when will that happen? That's the golden question. And do we not trade until that happens? Look, as a day trader, you trade what the market gives you. As of right now, you've broken out of your upward channel and you're just moving almost parabolic right now. When we look at the volume and what's taking place here, it's continuing buying pressure. Back-to-back 100 million days of volume on SPY. We haven't seen this since all the way back December 16th when we had 3 in a row. So I want you to start visualizing and taking in what's really happening here, okay? So you're getting that continuation volume and it's to the upside, right? We need to understand that. And we're breaking out wild. And on top of that, we're getting the breakout volume on SPY when SPY's not even leading the market. It's Qs, it's Nasdaq. That's what's really taking us to that next level. If anything, when you look at what's happening on the market, SPY is lagging behind. Just in fact of looking, and Dow got hit today too. We're going to go into that here in a second. So this is what we're looking at. Now, where are we looking at? What are our targets? Now, our target was around 420. Today, we got up to around 418.5, almost 419, very close. Going in though to futures, we get a better answer. What was our targets going into today? We had 12.75 to 12.9. That's what we said yesterday. Really down to like 12.65, but 12.75 up here. Boom, you broke out of it. You made a new high. So you can see here on Nasdaq, boom, higher high. And you're starting this trend of continuation, and it's a pattern we've seen now for almost 4 weeks, just continuing. Now, I'd be a fool to say that this is going to just keep going nonstop. I'd be an absolute fool. But as of right now, if we start to make a higher high here, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not believe shorts have covered yet. I don't believe it. I believe we may have had some in the beginning of this rally, but it has not started to happen yet. I'm going to tell you, if you make a higher high over 12.9, after these earnings now especially, you will see mass covering, in my opinion, on a lot of equities. So I expect even more volatile behavior. Now, when we look at these, what are clear targets? What are we looking for? Now, specifically, and I want to get this out of here as quick as possible, right? So target on for the next thing on Nasdaq, easily up to 13.1 to 13.2. That's your next range. So if you make a new high or if you even start pushing back to 12.8 tomorrow, automatically target needs to be 13.1. Because if you start to push back to highs, in my opinion, there's not enough momentum from sellers, and we can look at that price action. And I recommend you hop in live every single day on this channel, which reminds me, before we go any further, I have to ask you to do 2 things: like and subscribe. Every single day I make videos for you, so you are prepared and you understand what's happening on the market. It's unbiased. I show you if I'm losing or if I'm winning. And I typically try to focus on the losers. Why? Because I like to use it as an education standpoint, right? Because you're going to learn more from your losers than you're going to learn from your winners. We tend to kind of be euphoric with our winners, and we tend to push our losers to the side and try to forget about them. However, we need to focus on the losers. That's the problem with social media trading and anything to do with stocks, is no one's transparent. And I try to set the tone for that so you can always come to a channel and understand that that win or lose, you're gonna learn something at the very minimum. You need to make sure every single time you lose it, use it as an experience to get better. That's the focus of this channel. As we come into Discord, and I don't do a lot of shout outs to Discord because I don't want to make a sales pitch whatsoever to you, but I do want to tell you right now, we just have a lower tier available for everyone, and we only have a certain amount of slots. It's already, I believe, like 10% filled up and counting. It updates pretty late for us, I believe late at night, so we won't know until the end of the day. But just so you know, time is basically ticking on those. We will never open this space up again. So instead of 60, you can pay 30. The catch is you will not get access to voice chat, and you will not be able to type inside of Discord. But you'll get access to everything else, and except the education part, because that's for the mentorship, but that's besides the point. So you get access to everything else inside the Discord. This is just today. And again, I don't like to hype anything up or anything like that, but I got to tell people and let you guys know specifically, again, so you understand this is not going to last. Again, once it fills up, I am not adding any more spots to the $30 tier. It's literally half price from the $60 tier. But again, if you're really serious about getting into trading and learning, you need to be able to talk. That's my personal opinion, but this is a good way to get your feet wet so you can see what we're all about. Let's get back to it. So what we're going to do here, and I want to focus on some stocks that I'm liking right now. Again, I could spend all day going over, SPY and Qs. In my opinion, you need to be watching the indexes, the Nasdaq and ES. We hit 4,200, the target there, and we came to our target, a 12.9 on the Nasdaq. So I'm going to give you the targets on ES, and I'm going to go over the stocks that I'm liking specifically here in the market. As we look at ES, again, you got to start zooming out because now you're breaking important levels, and we've already broke this level here. We talked about 41.6 and then 4,200. So you came all the way up to 4,200 today on ES. It's worth mentioning. You did hit 4,200 today. When we look at the chart, you can see, boom, came over 4,208. I don't know why I wasn't showing that on the daily. Now, the next level you have to be watching, because you've basically invalidated everything, which is crazy. This is just bizarre. I'm honestly in disbelief that we're making these type of highs. Your next range is going to be up near 42.8 to 43.20. That's your next supply level. That's our next target when we start breaking out. So if you get above 4,200 and you mount that on ES, you have almost at least, at the very minimum, 80 points of upside. And that's when things are going to start sparking, in my opinion. That's the potential of getting squeezes across the board and shorts getting out of the market, or at least repositioning themselves from the closer dates that we had of March and April, most likely to June and further out. So we need to be watching that specifically with the option chain. I'll have another video going over that probably tomorrow, diving more into that. But let's go into some stocks that we're liking. Now, numero uno, man. I'm getting a little heartburn from this one. This is the baby, right? If you're not on Twitter, I don't know what to tell you. I post all these charts on Twitter, trying to give you guys as much as possible. I had to tell you earlier, NVIDIA is not moving. It's telling AMD, hey, let this man cook. AMD's got to cook. AMD, where did we mention this for you guys, right? And there's still room. Like I told y'all yesterday, we had that clear bull flag. We broke out of this, went crazy to 88. Now, right now, AMD, if it retests 85.6, so if you get a retest back down, giving you a visual, let's go to the 1 hour so you can see a little bit more. We already know where that level is, the top basically of that previous supply zone. If you retest 85.6 to 86, which I honestly don't even think it's going to happen, but if it does, for me, it becomes a buying opportunity, right? Now you have tight stops. If you stop dropping down to 84, you can cut, get out. But this is going to be one of those plays that I think is beautiful here, because you can see, and I want to show you where the buying opportunity is at. And then when you zoom out to something like the 4 hour, you start to get really good visuals here. There's literally no liquidity up here. Your next supply zone, could argue, is at 88, but it's just not. I don't believe that is. I believe you have room all the way up to 92 minimum, but your really next level is 97 all the way up to around 96. AMD just reported phenomenal, right? The numbers weren't beautiful, but when you look at their acquisitions and what they did to take advantage of this situation, you couldn't be happier. Number two, crazy one. I know people are probably going to hate this. I mean, everyone's kind of bearish on Netflix, but I've become a big old bull. Now, for the past few days, Jay Ream in Discord, he runs Discord with me if you're not familiar. This man has been screaming. I mean, he's been hollering. Netflix, 351, 351, 351. You come down, bounce, and you're pushing. Netflix, in my opinion, has room up to the 200 SMA. It is a riskier name, though. I want to make this very clear. It is a riskier name. Why? Because you're coming back into all this chop that you had before the previous descent down. So upside in the short term, 372. possibly up to 390. But I'm looking for a wick to that 200 SMA and our test of that ASAP, okay? I want to see that very soon. But again, if I want to be a little bit conservative, 372 to around, I mean, really 390 is crazy to say, but let's just say around 385 roughly, okay? Netflix, absolutely love them, doing beautiful, yes. I know chips. It's I feel like I'm like a broken record here. This is one of our best trades on the day. Me personally, I posted it on Twitter so you guys could see. Again, I don't like to show gains and make it seem like I'm this crazy wealthy person. I make a decent income. I do well for myself, but that's not the focus. The focus here is to show that the system works. That's the goal. Is to show that there's proof in what we're doing, taking our time, not being overly aggressive, waiting for the market to come to us rather than running into the market and taking a crazy amount of trades, right? That's the focus, quality over quantity. And that's what I like to do here. But some people like to come to the channel like, oh, well, Tyler, you got to go down. You've been wrong, this and that. I'm like, bank account. I don't know what else to say. That's it. Facts. If y'all want the evidence, I gotta show the evidence sometimes. So it is what it is. Nvidia, I'm telling you, I think you have upside closer to 225, 227 to the top of this supplier area. But let me tell you right now, if you really start breaking out and you can get over 227, and maybe this is premature to even mention it, but if you start mounting 227, 226, it's going to be just like AMD has been, okay? So even if you're like, hey, I don't really want to take the risk now on AMD or any of the other plays, I want to be a little bit patient, which I usually recommend right now. It's probably the best thing to do. And right now, I'm really liquid in the market. So when we look at this, AMD, what did we say? You mount 79.80, what was going to happen? You were going to go crazy. You were going to start pushing with ease. And what happened? You moved literally $9 in a day and a half. Does AMD ever move that much? The last time you moved that much was back in November 10th. Besides that, never does that happen. Why? Because we understand what's happening with liquidity and where there's the liquidity gaps in the market, and that's where you take advantage. So I'm going to tell you right now, NVIDIA gets over this level, I'm telling you, if it gets over 220, 227, 228 and mounts that area, you have a clear shot, in my opinion, back to 260, 255 with ease. So chips have got to be your main focus to watch right now, because out of all areas of the market, they're the ones with potentially the most upside because they've been hit just so hard. I will tell you right now, NVIDIA, this is a tough area that you're in, but I still love it. Jay actually still has calls on those. I made a lot on those. I had to get out of there. Next up, Boeing. And again, I'm mentioning some names right now that are a little bit riskier, okay? I want to be very clear about this, okay? And at the end of this video, I have a little bit of something I want to share with you guys. Boeing. I am already out of this. I've been out of this since we got that push. When I mentioned it, we were at 212. We moved all the way to 219. I had to close. I was like, dude, I had leaps, and they instantly went up 50%. And it was like over, I believe, $15,000 that I had in them. So I was like, dude, get me out. Give me my money, right? I need to get out of this market right now. Now, that was before the Fed meeting, I believe. Now, you're sitting in this ascending triangle. In the after hours, you are down. You're like at 208, roughly like right here. If we look at what's happening to Dow, though, I want you to understand what's happening here. If we look at the Dow, you're in a clear bullish pennant trying to break up. I want you to understand, though, today was not the best day for Dow. Look at what some of the biggest names are doing to it. Caterpillar, boom, getting shot down. Honestly, Caterpillar, I'm not buying it because it had bad earnings, but I'm going to tell you, it's technically speaking, from a technical analysis standpoint, it's a beautiful buying opportunity. You're just retesting previous all-time highs, and you're wicking. Buyers are showing up. It's kind of wild. Looking at John Deere, similar name, similar type of company, right? Those are the ones getting hurt. Today, oil was also getting hurt. So a lot of the Dow was getting smacked around. So you need to understand that. But Boeing's still kind of holding its own at near those peaks, right? So that's what we need to focus on is Boeing. It's a little bit riskier. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a little bit riskier because it's in one of the slower moving parts of the market. However, it's something that I'm kind of playing and that I was playing before. I had my money in it. I just didn't really worry about it. I set some alerts and walked away. You know, I bought those deep in the money and boom, it just went, right? So that's why I like Boeing. And I still think Boeing has room to run the 220, 221 area. Like I said, possibly getting a move to that 200 SMA. Sorry, I meant the weekly. I mean the 200 SMA on the weekly. You have not been above this since all the way back in May of 2020. Okay. We need to understand that. When we zoom out even further on Boeing, what do we see when we really start to identify what's happening here? You've been in a basically 3-year long downtrend on Boeing, right? Which you've broken out of, which we been trading. So we need to identify where we're at and kind of the opportunities that are just kind of just being thrown in front of our face here. That's why I still love Boeing. I'm going to tell you right now. Again, chips are my favorite. Netflix, I think Netflix has room. It's kind of wild. It's kind of risky. And some of these names today, I'm not going to lie, they're riskier names. I think Target, some of these other names we mentioned, which have all been destroying, those were safer names to be looking at. But again, this is just my place. What I'm looking at, I'll have more charts going to be all over Twitter. So make sure you're on there. Again, the last thing I want to talk about today, and again, this is the bearish outlook on the market of what I'm watching for to happen, right? This is what you have to be preparing for. This is what you have to be watching for. So I retweeted this earlier, and this is kind of what scared me. The U.S. Energy Department asked to halt any additional oil reserve sales. Okay. This was scary for me. If we look at what's happening, SPR is low. When we look at what's happening with oil, right? We look at the oil prices and yeah, oil's dropping dramatically. It's just been going down on like a weekly time. Someone said it's in a descending wedge. I'm like, guys, dream on. No, it's not. You're lying to yourself. If you look at what's happening, you broke out of this pattern that looked like it was going to break up and you're coming down. I don't think oil just keeps dropping. China's demand and the overall demand is going to continue to rise here on oil, just like it did last year. Now, we're going to go to those astronomical numbers like last year? Most likely not. But we need to identify when oil starts to rise, that's going to be one of the telltale signs for inflation data to spark back up. And that's when you become a bear on the market from a fundamental standpoint to try to time the breakdown, if you will, because that's what ultimately sparked all the other inflation. So that's my focus here when anyone's asking me any questions. People are also asking about VIX, that you're so low, you're this, you're that. Look, VIX has not been the same since the SPX. Since it happened where SPY got everyday 0DTE contracts. Options have flowed from SPX into SPY, so you're just not seeing relatable numbers. That's my opinion there. VIX is still a good indicator to look at, something I have to watch. But what I say, you're coming back down to 17, 16. That's what I'm looking for there. That's it for today. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. See you tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.